The views and opinions expressed by this program's hosts, guests, listeners, and viewers are solely the views and opinions of the original source who expresses them. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of TV5 Network Incorporated, its subsidiaries and affiliates, and their respective stockholders, directors, officers, and employees.
Sounding off from Los Angeles, the undisputed king of podcasting, who's all about the good times, Mo Twister. Representing New York City, a social media monster and co-creator of the Not Bill Walton Twitter feed, Chris Savage. All the way from Sydney, Australia, a basketball media veteran and unapologetic cultural critic, Bradford Graham. Holding it down from Manila, a seasoned sportscaster with the studio skills to pay the bills, Jinno Rufino. This is Full Court Report.
All right, welcome to the Full Court Report. It is another brand new episode here of our show, right after Game 3 of the NBA Finals just ended minutes ago. So let's go ahead and bang out a new episode here. We are four guys in four different cities. My name is Mo. I'm in Las Vegas. We have Chris Savage over there in New York City. Bradford Graham, Sydney, Australia. And in studio, Metro Manila, Philippines, is Jinno Rufino. Fellas, the blowout win. Let's talk about it. Let's go to Chris Savage over there in New York. Chris, you got 12 minutes. Where do you want to go with your quarter, my friend?
Yes, fellas. It certainly feels like deja vu because it's yet another blowout game in these 2016 NBA playoffs overall. Tonight was a Cavaliers as the Cavs attacked the Warriors from the jump, winning 120-90. I thought they played with great physicality, attacking the rim, but also on defense, watching Steph and Clay at all times. LeBron's energy really set the tone. Kyrie setting the tone, scoring early, and also getting his teammates involved early on. And I think a big factor was J.R. Smith hitting his shots, not shying away from those shots either, but going out there, being aggressive, and putting 20 points up on the board. So, kudos to him for a tremendous game.
Yeah, Chris, I think it was a case of J.R. Smith looking for a shot, and it's a nice sort of, way for him to get involved in this series because, frankly, after games 1 and 2, not only did he no-show, but his teams weren't even looking for him. He was quite ghostly out there. And so it's good to see JR getting, the looks, 5 from 10 from deep, which is going to sort of boost his confidence and help his team overall. But for me, the real success and the real reason that the Cavs turned it around is because LeBron put the foot on the accelerator from the jump. Think that in games 1 and 2, he sort of sat back, sort of tried to survey the situation, see how the games were going to play out and then act accordingly. Whereas I think he's so much more successful and so much better as a player when he just decides that I'm going to go get my own early guys. I'm going to put a quick 15, 20 on the board, hopefully do that in the first quarter and a half, and then force the defense to react to him rather than sort of try to get everyone involved and play unselfish basketball. I think this Cavs team is so much better when LeBron's scoring early, getting everyone else open looks as a result of his production and not sort of trying to do too much in the second half when they're already down, because against this Warriors team, you can't afford to get down because there's no coming back. But it was awesome to see LeBron go at them. Kyrie Irving, same thing, come out shooting good, shooting hot early on, blew the game out in the first quarter, gave him a nice sort of 20-point cushion. But even that didn't feel like it was going to be enough, at least early on against these Warriors. They were sort of sniffing around long enough where I was like, even though they're up 20, man, this game can go either way. Steph could hit some threes, Clay could get hot. But credit to the Cavs. They did bounce back, Chris. And I was really impressed with the way LeBron James sort of showed everything that he can do on a basketball court tonight. Yeah. And
I think
he wasn't settling for threes,
amazing,
and I think that was a good thing.
The third quarter
for me, Brad, if you think about it, that how great of a player LeBron James is. That the last couple of games he's 22, 23 points, 10 and 10, and that's not enough. And I agree with you. He needs to be that guy who goes out there and scores 30 plus like he did tonight. Maybe less on the assist end, but just a tribute to him of how great he is.
Stamp his personality on both ends, and then let the game sort of evolve around him.
Absolutely.
I mean, he can basically bend the will of the game to however he sees fit. He has that Neo in Matrix kind of, ability to sort of make basketball do whatever he wants it to. So for him to sort of not be aggressive, whenever he's passive, that's why I always worry about these Cavaliers. And I think that's what separates the greats is they just go out there and they make the game about them and force the defense to react. So Gino, did you see it that way? I mean,
Well, the way I saw it, I mean, the Cavs had a fantastic start. The Dubs, even though they played so poorly in the first half, they were only down 9 points, 8 points at halftime. Yep. And I remember thinking to myself during half, it's like if the Cavs are not careful, they are like 3 threes away from the Splash Brothers and Draymond, and then this game could turn the other way. But the way the Cavs came out in that second half, to me, was really the key. I mean, they showed a lot of heart, grit, and determination, and they played with desperation, and it showed and it paid off for them. Because after that first 5 minutes to start in the third quarter, I figured, okay, this game looks like it's over, and it was.
You know what's funny? In the second quarter, reminded me of that Clippers Dubs game in the regular season. I thought the Cavs were going to relinquish the lead. I started to almost was reminded that game, but yeah, certainly in the third quarter they turned it back on.
I mean, we saw improvements kind of in every facet of the game, and that's what led to the win. Again, another 30-point win, which is the 10th game this postseason with a margin of 30-plus.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's insane. I mean, look, again, Mo, help me out here because you're a Warriors fan, but what I don't like about this Warriors team, and it seems to be the case for not only them, but a lot of teams in these playoffs, is they seem to just go out there, and again, we keep coming back to this make or miss league, concept, but I don't like the fact that the Warriors go, well, look, we're going to shoot a bunch of threes, and if they're not dropping, we'll just go at it next game. It's almost like they just sort of, I don't know, they start to phone it in after a while, and I just don't like that approach.
We see that when they're up, like when they're up in a series. They're up 2-0, and then kind of, I don't know, either the spoiled little brats or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I guess I
go for the throat. They don't quite go for the throat, and I don't like that about them. I want to see, and we can get into this a little bit if you really want to. Again, Steph, another average game when he's supposed to be the league's best player, right. And
let's get into that in a second. What I want to highlight are the things I think the Cavaliers did well. They have been aggressive in the first couple of games. It's just the shot wasn't falling for them. Like I said, they missed 28 shots in the paint in game one, which again means they're going to improve. I mean, you can't just miss 28 shots in the paint every single game, right? So the numbers are on your side that you're going to improve there, and they did. You're saying that LeBron, started to kind of assert himself. He's been asserting himself, but the thing is, he was always kind of looking for Kevin Love to get into his groove and always kind of getting him to get a couple shots out there. Now, without Love on the floor tonight, they were able to kind of just go out there and be more aggressive and
power forward.
Right, absolutely. And without Love, they're immediately better on defense. Now, with Kyrie and Love in that first five, they're a horrendous defensive team. And now you take him out, and all of a sudden you get a little bit better. Now, I know coming into this game number 3, Kyrie Irving on defense, I mean, the player that he would guard are shooting 78% from the field. And Kevin Love's not much better either. So when you remove one of the weaknesses there, even though he is a star player, they get better on defense. So, the Cavs coming in here, losing 7 games in a row to the Warriors, really put themselves back into this series with their confidence boosted up with a 30-point win. And again, we saw a lot of improvements from everywhere else. My only concern, though, in this game for the Cavs, if there is one, is that the first points scored by the bench was 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. Yeah. So that first 5 carried the entire
game was over.
I'm going to counter that by saying...
No, I want you to counter it. Again, I'm not saying it's a problem. I just worry. I want to talk about it.
It is a problem. It's a huge problem.
In the playoffs, smaller rotations, most teams only play 8 guys unless it is a blowout. Rotations. I want to see LeBron and Kyrie not only doing most of the scoring and most of the production, but the weight and the expectation is on your starters. They have to deliver. And in this case, the Cavaliers starters absolutely delivered, so they deserve credit. Now, you mentioned the stat about the bench not scoring this game. What is equally troubling for me is Steph did not shoot a single free throw until the third quarter of this game for the whole series. Now, your MVP gets to the line for the first time in game 3. That, to me, suggests that he's not playing aggressive enough, even if his team is blowing out teams. So I don't like the fact that
different though, Brad. I don't think his style has been different.
I'm not saying that again. Like, what I'm saying is the inefficiencies of one team can get covered over better by the support cast, whereas for the Cavaliers, they rely so much more heavily on their starting unit giving them the points. That's why it becomes more noticeable.
If the bench doesn't show up, Channing Frye was such an integral part in the early series. Where has he been? They're going to need Channing Frye in the series, or they're done. They can't do it. Tonight might just be an aberration.
They are. Sure. Channing Frye's going to have to get out there, and he's going to have to play more than 12 minutes.
I think the point though for the Cavaliers coming in here to Game 3 was to be aggressive, be nasty, be physical, go out there, and again we see another Warriors loss with the rebound differential being huge. I mean, what, they got rebounded by 20 rebounds.
Yeah,
so
52,
that's what's consistent.
52,
yeah, that's
32,
what.
something
Yeah,
like that.
52-32. So that's what's consistent with these Warrior losses. Now, maybe Channing Frye didn't play a lot of minutes because they wanted to flex a little bit more muscle, and again, or Andy Bogut again, another 12-minute game for him. And another Warriors loss. Not saying that Bogut is a really big part in all this, but I think crashing the boards, being able to play tough, aggressive defense, nasty defense, is going to get a team some victories
here's the
here.
other thing too, Mo. The reason why there actually are more rebounds is because the Warriors shot 42% from the field, because they were 9 of 33 from downtown, 27%, whatever the case was in terms of accuracy. Like, the Warriors missed shots they usually make, and that's why there are all these loose balls. That's why they are down, by the 20 sort of points after, 2 quarters. And again, we expected Cleveland to come out. We expected Cleveland to come out with this energy. They did. We expected them to sort of, back against the wall performance to sort of, show up in the areas that they did do. But even still, for 3 quarters, we still weren't certain that they were going to put this one away. I mean, for Golden State playing as poorly as they did, they always felt within reach, because this team, you can never completely discount them until there is 2 minutes to go and you're up 30.
With Bogut, he was minus 20 for this game when he was on the floor. It was a pretty horrendous effort. But I think the matchup with him, without Kevin Love there, and they couldn't, the Cavs were so athletic compared, and having Bogut on the floor, I think kind of slowed down the Warriors a little bit. And I think that it's a matchup thing that, I mean, with Bogut on the floor, it didn't, the Warriors were struggling a little bit keeping up with the Cavs, and the Cavs were just running all over the place.
And if you play Bogut more minutes, Mo, you alluded to only 12 minutes is kind of a theme. You play him more at the expense of who? Who are you going to take minutes away from? Iguodala?
Well, he came out. He came out great in the winning game too, blocking shots, playing some excellent D. So I mean, if it was a rough night for him, it's a rough night. Sit him down, fine, I get it. Right. But my point is, if you're going to get out rebounded the way they do, and Tristan Thompson had 7 offensive rebounds, and we saw that in last year's NBA Finals when in the games that they won, he was a monster on the boards. I really think that that's their weakness. And if you exploit it, well, you're going to get a W. And then, of course, the offense stepped up with J.R. Smith stepping up. Kyrie Irving, who was struggling to create his own shot in games 1 and 2. I think he shot 4 for 24 when he created his own shot. All of a sudden was dishing the ball, catching and shooting, and making these baskets.
But Mo, specifically... Right, but specifically speaking, the Cavs were shooting the ball inside the arc. I mean, LeBron attempted 2 threes, but had 26 shots overall. Kyrie Irving, 7 threes, 25 shots overall. And that suggests to me that they were getting closer to the hoop and getting shots that are more makeable shots. And when they were missing, they were putting themselves in better positions to collect the rebounds because they weren't sort of, wayward rebounds from long-distance shots. So I think it was the shot selection which actually set up the ability to get more rebounds.
But the shot
and then
selection
also the ability...
has always been there. They have been taking good shots. They haven't been making them.
And these guys, I'm telling you, Mo, they shoot more threes. They're trying to basically copy what Golden State is doing, and I think that's where they've gone wrong. When LeBron is getting to the hoop, when Kyrie, who we know is an exceptional finisher, when these guys shoot the mid-range jump shots, when they can get into those seams and finish around the hoop, that's where they're at their best. Nobody can stop LeBron going to the hoop. So the more he shoots around the hoop, the more he's going to be able to be more effective, and the more loose balls and the more rebounds there will be for Thompson and others to collect and to get easy putbacks because, as you mentioned, they have the athletic superiority, at least in this game and maybe in the next as well, because they got that home crowd fueling them.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Are we
That's
done?
my take.
Are we done with this quarter? Yeah, that's it.
There's about 15 seconds left.
15 seconds left.
Really quickly,
quick buzzer beater.
One stat.
Yeah, go.
Warriors 65% from the line. That's not Warrior-esque. That's
sure.
Pretty,
and here's here's one thing we didn't talk a lot about, which we will, I'm sure, in second quarter. Kevin Love and him not being in this game are they better off without Kevin Love? We'll talk about it right after this with Jinno Ruffino. Don't go away. Listen to the full court report.
He has made viewers laugh with his funny antics and awesome style in comedy. He has also been in quite a few headlines himself. Well, funny man Arnel Ignacio loves good times too. Curious if he has funny secrets he'd like to spill? Then head on to www.tv5.com.ph/originals and watch Good Times with Mo. Thursday, 9 p.m. on Digital 5. Call us on our hotline, also on Viber and Skype.
All right, welcome back to the Full Court Report. We are going to Manila, Philippines. Talk to Jinno Ruffino for these next 12 minutes. Jinno, you have control. What do you got?
Thanks, Mo. When Love was lost in the second quarter after Harrison Barnes' elbow, he suffered a concussion, and the NBA has sort of these concussion policy designed to maximize the health and safety of NBA players by providing a framework of education and clinical management that best reflects the current scientific understanding of the injury. Now, there's certain protocols, and there's a whole list. I looked it up, and there's like a return to practice protocol, return to participation protocol.
Right.
I mean, there's all these different things that a player must go through with a physician to make him eligible to play, to participate, which they call the return to participation protocol. Anyway, so Kevin Love, I think earlier today, with a few hours left before tip-off, he did not complete the return to participation protocol, which forced him to sit out of the game. And I guess we all saw what happened. I think the athleticism of the smaller Cavs kind of helped them to a quick start. And I think Kevin Love, even though he's a quality player, even though he does bring a lot of good things to a game, perhaps in this matchup against the Dubs, because he hasn't played well against the Warriors I guess in the past 2 years, or ever since he was with Cleveland, and it was pretty glaring that they were actually better without Kevin Love on the floor. I'm not saying they're a better team, but I'm saying again, I guess the matchup against the Dubs.
You can say it. We won't crucify you this time.
Yeah,
you
but
can say
this
it.
is not a shock. They've played on the stretch without Kevin Love before, and they've been a better team.
Right.
This is not a shock at all. He hasn't been the player that he was.
And it's not a discredit to how talented Kevin Love is. We know he's an elite rebounder.
Right.
We know he's a very, very accurate shooter, and we know that he is a literal talent. That's one of the better players in the NBA. It's just, I think this is more evidence that he's not the best fit for this Cavaliers team, even though they tried hard and they really want him to be. I think that Kevin Love missing this game actually benefits Kyrie Irving because there's just more shots available.
Yeah.
And he's a point producer. I mean, that's really what he does. I mean, he's clearly not in the class of Curry and Westbrook and maybe even Lillard, but, he's not that far behind and, could make an argument that, he's one of the better offensive point guards that, we have in the NBA. So I think he's the one who benefits most. And I think these guys not having to sort of look for Kevin Love, because again, we know Kevin Love can sulk a little bit if he's not getting the basketball and the shots he wants. So, when these guys know that they don't have to manage his ego, I think they go out there and play a little freer. And it's clear that these guys, in some ways are kindred spirits, the poor man's version of, D Wade and LeBron. I mean, LeBron loves Kyrie. I mean, he's one of his boys now, isn't he? I mean, isn't that what the thing is coming out of Cleveland? So to see them both go out there and have these games suggests that Kevin Love isn't missed, but I think they were going to win this game whether Kevin Love was there or not. I think there's too much at stake.
Do you think this is a wake-up call for Kevin Love? Because again, we are saying these things like, oh, he's got an ego, which I agree, and there's an allotment of shots that have to and there's an allotment of shots that have to kind of be reserved for Kevin Love because of his skill set. But I mean, are we really going to say that Kevin Love is the Cavs are better off without him when your replacement player is Richard Jefferson? I mean,
no, they're in this position because of Kevin Love. I mean, they sweep the East and they're the best team in the East because he helps form that trio. But
are they a better team against the Golden State Warriors, which is the only thing that matters at this point? Are they a better team against the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Love not playing, not starting, not playing those minutes?
I wouldn't say not playing. I think they're still better with Kevin Love, but I think
bring him off the bench.
Exactly. I would bring Kevin Love off the bench and not have to deal with it.
The Warriors bring Iguodala off the bench, who's clearly a starter. Do the same thing with Kevin Love. Let him try and beat that second unit. If he can't beat the first unit and Draymond Green's in his head or whatever the case may be, he doesn't match up perfectly, bring him off the second, make him the leader of the second unit. At least then you're going to get, 18 to 20 points from him and, anywhere from 8 to 15 rebounds. I mean, why not let him go out there and make an impact in the second quarter? And if he's playing well, put him out there in the fourth and, maybe start Channing Frye or Jefferson or, mix it up a little bit. Maybe, keeping your starting lineup static is what's hurting the Cavaliers. They're easy to fix or they're easy to sort of work around because you know what you're going to get from each of them. And if you can take Kevin Love out of it early, he's not going to be in the game from top to bottom because he doesn't impact it in other ways. So, maybe Tyronn Lue found the golden ticket here. I mean, who knows? We'll find out in game 4 once he's cleared to play because of the concussion issue, if he can come back. But, I think the NBA also...
And maybe you can hide his defensive lapses in the second unit because there are better... there are better defenders there.
Coming back to the reason why he wasn't there, he was clearly shaken up by the elbow to the head. Anyone who's had a severe knock to the head from an elbow, inadvertent or not, or any sort of, head injury, knows that, again, this stuff can affect you in ways that you can't foresee or predict or whatever. And head injuries should be taken very seriously. And I think the NBA and the Cavs made the right call sitting Kevin Love. Win or lose this game, I think they had to sit him.
Yeah, and I like the matchup against Mo Spates more than against Draymond Green for Kevin Love. I mean, it just makes more sense.
Well, I mean, but Spates is not going to get them in. It's a Draymond. Yeah. He's going to eventually have to line up against Draymond a great majority of the time that he's on the floor. Yeah. I know that Kevin Love was very frustrated, though, with the Cavaliers and how they handled this whole concussion protocol thingamajig. So I don't know, again, if that's going to hurt his standing with this team. I mean, clearly, if they lost this game, man, or if it was if it's going to be an early loss for them, I don't know where we're going to see if we're going to see Kevin Love back with this team, because again, they are performing better without him, or at least looks like it in this game. But I hope this is a wake-up call for him, that it's not just Lou putting him in the second unit in game number 4, but he accepting it and then kind of just embracing it for the better of the team.
Right. If the stadium announcer calls out your name to start the game, it doesn't discredit your value. I mean, we've seen this time and time again in the NBA. It's who finishes the game, not who starts. And Kevin Love is actually not finishing games because he's not making himself be a meaningful player for the first 3 quarters. So what I don't quite get is why he doesn't swallow a little bit of his own pride. And I get it's tough it's tough to do and easier sort of said than done. But in this case, you've got to do whatever is necessary to help your team win this title. And if coming off the bench helps your team win the title, you absolutely volunteer for that role. Or you go to coach and the assistant and you say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit out the first 6 to 8 minutes of the game, see what's unfolding. And if I can come in and make an impact, I'm going to be the first off the bench or second off the bench to do so, especially if LeBron and Kyrie Irving are not hitting everything, or if J.R. Smith is struggling, and we need that sort of, high production, especially shooting and scoring wise, because he could absolutely take advantage of some of the mismatches in the, pick and rolls if he's playing against Golden State's second unit. So again, it's all about, figuring out the strategy on the fly, and Tyronn Lue and Kevin Love and these guys have to be more flexible. And I think if they are, then they put themselves in an advantage where they can at least tie this series up and maybe extend it to 7 games. But, as it stands, they're still not as talented as Golden State from start to finish. So, maybe Kevin Love, maybe all this conversation, maybe all the hoopla around his head injury, maybe all counts for 0 if he doesn't, if they don't win the next game. Maybe it only matters if game 4 goes Cleveland's way.
I think
as for the concussion protocol, I know he is frustrated, but it is the right thing in place. The league is doing the right thing to protect the players, protect the integrity of the sport. It stinks that it had to happen in the NBA Finals, but I wish they got him out of the game, quicker last game. But I guess he wasn't showing signs. I don't know, how they did the test thoroughly enough to figure it out later on. However, I'm all for that. So he needs to suck that part up too.
I think if Kevin Love does agree to come out, I mean, we don't know exactly what's going to transpire the next couple of days, but I think if Kevin Love does agree to come out off the bench in game number 4, it's going to show his maturity in terms of what he does, what can be best for the team. I mean, that's just. That's
the
just
fact that we have to have a conversation about maturity when we're in the NBA Finals and players' egos need to go to the side. It's such a joke.
But Kevin Love's also never been there before, Chris. Like, it's not like we can say to him, look, he's got a track record of stuff. And I also think that his longevity in Cleveland is extended if he goes and figures out a way and LeBron and him sit down and they have a meaningful conversation about where you can impact the game. Look, it's not about the $70, $80 million, whatever you want. The money now is kind of irrelevant. I mean, if you think that there's a quota of shots that you're demanding because of your salary, that stuff doesn't count in the finals. What counts in the finals, and I think the Warriors are a good example of this, is we win by committee. Like Steph Curry not being the best player in this series or even the best player on his own team, to me says that the MVP is irrelevant at this point. What matters most is them winning as a team and figuring out a way to get production out of everybody and to keep the other team always on the back foot. And so I think that's where the Cavs sort of have failed, is they've had this expectation or this sort of, they feel like it's owed to them in some ways and that the title is theirs to lose, or that we have the big 3 and therefore we're always going to get 20 a night out of them. And the truth is that's just not the case. It just can't be, because basketball isn't played, in that way. It's, and to do things only in a reactionary, facet as well is also going to be detrimental to Kevin Love long term. So they're going to need him to win this series. There's no doubt about it, but they were able to get by without him this one game. Now it's up to him. We get to find out who Kevin Love really is in the next game. If he is, essentially a man of
Yeah, we don't know.
I think this is it. I think his career can ultimately be defined by who he is in the next game. I think this is where we're going to find out what Kevin Love's really made of.
Yeah, and in the first game, Kevin Love, 17 points, 13 rebounds. In the second game, obviously, he got an elbow to the head, 5 points, 3 rebounds in 21 minutes. He still played 21 minutes, though, in that 7 game, but barely produced. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have. I mean, after he fell to the ground, they probably should have taken him out.
But in this idea, look, I refuse to accept that, if anyone dares call any of these guys soft or whatever, I mean, I go back to sort of Scottie Pippen and the migraine in Game 7 against the Pistons. Like, anytime these guys, or anybody, sorry, for that matter, has ever suffered through any sort of, either head injury or, extensive headache or whatever, like, it takes you out of where you are and what you're meant to do. Like, you can't go to work in those situations under those circumstances. So I think the fact that Kevin Love tried to play through and played those 21 minutes, I think is actually a testament to his willingness to put himself on the line for what this team's trying to accomplish. And I don't think you could ever criticize him for playing that game. And him wanting to rush back for this game, again, also suggests to me that the guy wants this. He wants this really bad, but wanting it and then going out there.
He has to be the guy who's there at the end of the game. Brad, you already brought it up, whether he starts or not. He's got to want to be there at the end of the game, and
figure out a way to be there.
It.
Right, to know that you're good enough to be there and then to sort of enact it are two different things. Like, I'm sure Leandro Barbosa and Iguodala and some of these guys coming off the bench don't like their roles, if you ask them honestly, but they're also understanding that this is a team sport and that they all contribute to the outcome. I mean, when that champagne flows at the end of the season, it flows on everyone, not just one person.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, God, it's about 20 seconds left in this quarter.
Another buzzer beater, quick, Jinno.
We're being very efficient tonight. I like it.
I want to see Kevin Love off the bench, and I think he's going to agree to do it. I think that what he saw tonight, the way how the quickness of the starting five against the Golden State Warriors, I think he's going to agree to do it.
Off guard. Yeah. Catch Golden State off guard. Start LeBron at point, move Shumpert to the starting lineup, bring J.R. Smith and Kevin Love off the bench. Screw with their game plan.
Yep, right. Yeah, and it's the finals. I mean, this is the part where you make these crazy adjustments and have kind of people shocked
win
a couple games. Absolutely. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's a halftime show. You listen to the Full Court Report. Don't go away.
Welcome to the initial episode of No Holds Barred with the Dean, Finito Hanson. We ask the questions, you get the answers.
Did you feel rough that you didn't get the Best Import award?
I won Best Import.
If you were the commissioner of the PBA for a day, what would be the first thing you'd do?
I'm not changing nothing.
Tell us, Leland, last November, when Samboy, your husband, suffered cardiac arrest, what was your feeling? How are you able to cope? And what kind of magnitude of expenses are you facing?
It's not good.
All right, welcome back to the Full Court Report. It's halftime. Let's talk casual stuff now. Well, I don't know if this is really that casual, but, Jinno,
it's going to get serious real fast.
It's going to get serious a little bit. We'll try to do it with a smile, though. Jinno, of course, the country, I'm talking about the Philippines, where we shoot out of a great majority of our staff and all that are in the Philippines, and everybody's kind of getting riled up about this new president coming in and some of the promises that he has made. We've talked about it briefly in past episodes, but he says, man, give him 6 months, and he's going to eradicate crime. No crime in 6 months, which is a bold, outrageous, and I think impossible goal. Right. But hey, listen, you know what? It's sexy to say. People like it. And if you're a career criminal, your days might be numbered. So I was thinking, why don't we talk about it? If we were criminals, say we all lived in the Philippines.
Remember, this is an if, right? This is an if. Just so anybody
speak for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Jinno, this is one of those stories where you say, my friend, when you really mean yourself.
Right, yeah. People who are nervous, those are the ones that are kind of the ones we should worry about. And that'd be you, Jinno. But no, really, like, if we were career criminals, what crime would we be, what industry of crime would we be in? Because there are, not the perfect crime, not what one crime we would commit, but what kind of criminal do you think we would be? Now, I'm a big Dexter Morgan fan. In fact, I named my daughter after Dexter Morgan. Her name is Amsterdam Morgan because of that, but I would not be a serial killer. That's what I got to tell you that. I'll go with you first, Jinno. Who do you have? What kind of criminal would you be?
Well, I mean, when you guys brought this topic up, I immediately thought of one thing, and it would be the getaway driver.
Oh, please.
Hey, first of all, don't you have someone drive you on a regular basis? Now you're going to be the driver?
No.
he's a race car
I don't
driver,
have.
Chris.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I
Guess what?
don't.
The cops are going to walk up to you in the traffic and go, "Hey, get in the car."
No, but you won't commit a crime in the middle of the afternoon.
He's going to
right?
be Ryan Gosling from
If you're
Drive. He's going to
good,
just be
if
the
you're
getaway
good, you
man.
can commit it in the afternoon.
That's your sexy answer, that you're a driver?
No, I mean, I volunteered to go first because I immediately thought of one
They
thing.
always die
That's
in
it.
the movies. The getaway driver
Yeah,
dies in the
true.
movies.
Not necessarily. Not
Drive
necessarily.
away
You
too
remember the movie
quickly.
Heat? In the movie Heat, Dennis Haysbert is the first one to die after they rob the bank. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to be the getaway driver, my friend. You might
Getaway driver always
make
gets
you good,
shot,
though.
and the
Gino,
guy in the
what would
passenger
make you
has to
good at
then
this?
kind of, get him out of the way or kick him, open the door, throw him out, and then they
Why
take
would you
over.
be good at
Transporter,
this,
like in Transporter. You guys watch that? The movie Transporter.
All right, look, Mo,
Do you
I think
feel-
his point is he wants to use the skills that he's got to
Yeah.
commit
That's
crimes.
right.
If he was
I
to
forgot. He is a race car driver. So, okay,
more
no.
importantly,
that's right.
I think what he'll be is he'll be more like, the Fast and the Furious style criminal where, he might just
Sure.
be on a country-long
Sure.
sort of, you don't know if the driving is going to be
in
used
a
to get
badass
away from the
vehicle.
crime or if the driving is going to be used to commit the crime. So,
No,
what
I
if
got
he-
it. Yeah.
We're thinking here.
Yeah, you're right.
All
All right. Chris, what do you got? I feel like
So for
we're
me,
talking about your
it's-
past here.
I've always felt that I've been very good at convincing people to do things for me without me per se actually doing the act. So I think if I was a mastermind criminal, I would be just that, a mastermind, getting people to follow my lead. I'm not saying like a cult leader, but following my lead and
Like a mob
doing
boss.
my bidding.
You mean like
Doing
King-
my
Not David Koresh. Not
well,
like that.
I had someone else in mind. His nickname is Charlie Magic, but I wouldn't have people kill for me. That's a little ridiculous. But I could get people to do little petty things for me. Hey, why don't you grab this for me? Why don't you grab that? Go to the store and just put this in your purse. Bring it back to me without me having to lift a finger. I felt that I've always been good at that. I've been able to have people do that throughout my life. Nothing big, just messing around. But if I had to do it as a criminal, that would be my thing. That would be my bag,
So
baby.
you would join the Italian mob and you would work your way up to sort of the Don? Like, would you be in charge of some sort of crime syndicate or would you just want to be in
Just
charge
someone-
of
maybe
your
he's
petty
he's
criminals?
closer to a cult leader, Brad. Maybe I'll start my own religion too. That's a real crime. Oh man,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it'd be cool because then you get to bang all the young chicks in the
You got that
congregation
right.
and all
Little
that
Jim
stuff. You're like,
Jones
bring me your daughters, and then they all have to bring
Yes.
you to them. That's awesome.
You're my harem.
Brad, what do you got?
I would be a human trafficker.
Wow, that's so dark.
Wow, this is
Wow, so
this
dark.
is really disturbing now.
Yeah, expound, please. What the hell are you talking about?
Well, for the simple reasons that I think that the complexities involved with it and like the international ring that you'd have to sort of set up and just basically I like the fact that it feels to me like it is a giant, and I'm saying like, one of the world's largest puzzles to solve, and you'd have to sort of stay one step ahead of all the international agencies and governments. And not that I would ever be one, but I just imagine that human trafficking must be the hardest freaking thing to do. And so that's the one that I'd want to at least attempt. I would want to be in charge of a human trafficking ring. You said it was imaginary. That's what I would want to do.
You want the challenge. She wants the challenge.
I want the challenge.
I'd like to be a big drug lord, but my problem is I worry that I always get shot and killed by my right-hand man who wants to take over. So I'm going to take that out. And I think I'm going to be a gambling lord. I think illegal gambling guy. I run my fantasy basketball league every year. I think I do an excellent job at it. And, of course, all of that stuff is under the table and all that. And, I'm the guy who in the office is kind of taking bets and stuff like that for the sports games and whatnot. So I think that's where I would shine. Illegal gambling lord.
Yeah, I worry about all of you.
Yeah. All right. But
Hey,
you're going to get
Gino,
killed
you know who's
first. Remember,
busting
you're
you
still
in
getting
jail?
killed
You
first. Yeah, you're the one who gets caught. That's okay. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, second half of the show. It's the Full Court Report. Don't go away.
A Sports5.ph original web show.
My name is Dominic Uy, and this is my buddy Kevin Limhoco.
We are going to be testing products to their nth degree, to their limits.
Cars.
How many car makers are not equipped with power steering?
Gadgets.
You feel the value of that watch.
And everything in between.
I don't like to pamper myself except in a restaurant.
This is the web show for the modern man.
Oh, let's go!
Nth degree. Catch it exclusively on Sports5.ph.
All right, welcome back to the Full Court Report. It is our second half, and third quarter duties belong to Bradford Graham over there in Sydney, Australia. Brad, man, What's up, brother? 12 minutes.
Yeah, I want to spend a little bit of time here, I guess. This thought crossed my mind after reading a Bill Simmons post on his new website. And basically, Maverick Carter, LeBron's best friend, business manager, agent, I don't know whatever role he plays inside that inner circle. I can never sort of stay on top of LeBron and his rotating circle of friends. The comment was made that LeBron probably spends about $1.5 million a year on his body. And I guess that number just jumped out at me. I thought $1.5 million a year just for LeBron to be able to compete at the level he does, the way that he does. And then, of course, the details were sort of, extrapolated on, which is basically that, he travels everywhere with chefs. He travels everywhere with 2 trainers. He has a masseuse with him all the time. He's forever being worked on. His body is forever being conditioned, to prepare himself not only for the NBA season, but, for the recovery involved. And so that his performance is optimized. And I guess knowing this now, to hear people in his inner circle say that he spends over $1 million a year on his body to keep his body performing, it's of little wonder he's made 6 straight, NBA finals. I mean, it all makes sense now. I mean, before I was sort of, chalking it up as he's a freak of nature, but the truth is he just is basically so focused and so about basketball that, he's putting the money in, he's investing in himself, investing in his tools, which is, his body and his mind to basically be able to do this. And of course, one of the big points out of the amount of money he spent is the monitoring of sleep and how important sleep is in terms of letting the body recover. And then, of course, the fact and the role that it plays in not only the travel, but when he's at home and how he basically lives by the clock. So,
well, maybe 900,000 of that money goes to the hairline and how it's come back.
Chris,
that's a joke. That's a joke you would say,
actually,
Chris.
Mike, that took you a lot longer to get there than I thought. I thought you were going to jump in much earlier with some sort of
joke.
I
was waiting. I had it ready right before the quarter was going to start.
Thank you. So listen.
Yeah,
how do you feel about these NBA players now being every single little facet of their lives? Do you think their performance has improved as a result? Do you find that your enjoyment of NBA coverage, watching the games night in, night out, do you think your enjoyment of the game has improved because of the way these athletes now treat every facet of their life? Or do you think that the NBA, was better off before when the guys would, puff cigarettes at halftime, wear, shoes without insoles, and basically just didn't give a crap and just played ball on the side?
I think it's just, you're trying to get competitive advantage. You're trying to make the most out of your body. And if some guy's doing it and he's playing it at an elite level, another guy's going to copy it, another guy's going to copy it, another guy's going to copy it. Yeah. And then if you take us back decades and decades in all sports where they were far less meticulous about their food and their, sleep patterns and all of that stuff. When you got guys like, again, another baseball reference, Babe Ruth, who could probably, drink 20 beers and eat 17 hot dogs and hit 3 home runs in a game, no worries. I mean, it's just, I think it's just the time. It's a time right now where people are really careful about what they eat and sleep. And if that's going to make you feel better and more confident in your body, and he's got a fantastic body, then everyone else is going to do it, and it's fine. I don't read into it too much.
Yeah, I think it's this is the the way the world has become right now. People are more conscious about what they eat. People are more conscious about working out. People are more conscious about how much sleep they get. I mean, it's not just pro athletes, but we're seeing this across the board in everybody in today's world. So I think it's just one of those things that it's just what it is at this time. You know what I mean? It's
right, but I guess this thing comes back to, okay, we saw Isaiah Thomas, Larry Bird, and we think of these legends, even Charles Barkley, and Jordan as the best example, didn't actually play as long as these guys that are playing today. And do you think that we benefit as fans from all this advancement in technology and awareness and tracking of all this stuff? Does the metadata, I guess, time that we live in help us to have more of the players we love?
Look at these athletes.
Do you want things to go backwards, or do you want things to continue on this track? I am so freaking thankful that we have all this in play now, that LeBron can monitor the way and where he sleeps, so that we get to have 13 years of LeBron at his peak rather than just 7 or 8, which was the case going back 20 years. So I think this is a good thing for basketball. But the thing that jumped out to me was the number more than it was, the amount of energy and the little peek behind the curtain, if you will. I feel like, now that we know LeBron spends all this money on his body, I'm not saying that LeBron's success is diminished in any way, but it makes more sense now that he's achieved all that he has, given how much time and effort and energy and money and resources are poured into his performance. And I don't think we see this. It actually seems to me like it takes an entire team of people to make LeBron function.
0.001% of his net worth, though, too. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, but
it is. No, again, to the average Joe, Chris, it is a huge swab of money. But to
Oh,
LeBron,
sure.
I mean, he doesn't care. He could probably drop twice that much money and he'd never even notice it.
Yeah.
Right, and if it makes him 1% better, he's going to do it. I'm sure there are a lot of rookies out there that are playing in the elite level. You got a Carl Anthony Towns, or maybe an Anthony Davis who doesn't have a entourage of people that are going to monitor every little thing about him because maybe they can't afford it like LeBron does, but they can still play at an elite level. So I think he's going to spend $1 million to make him 1% better. Maybe, yeah, it's worthwhile because, like Chris said, it's just a fraction of what.
Yeah, he won't feel that. He won't feel that at all.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think it does make them. It does help them. I guess get a little bit more accurate. Get a little bit more burst of energy here and there. But I mean, I just remember stories that I've heard that the great Michael Jordan would not sleep coming from a casino in Vegas or in over there in the East Coast, and then he's the next day he'll drop 50, he'll drop 60. There's just so many stories that I hear about that era. And I just keep on wondering, like, what if MJ really got more sleep, got more rest, and took better care of himself in terms of rest? How crazy would it? I mean, would it have affected him that much? Would he have gotten much better still? I mean, it's kind of crazy.
You're saying that he didn't realize his true potential because of the fact that the conditions
What
of the
if
time.
LeBron had more fun? If LeBron had more fun, maybe he'd be playing better. We don't know this. We don't know this at all. Maybe he should smoke cigars and go gamble in Atlantic City.
Well, again, you hear about Iverson and a number of these guys at the elite level. Once they reach a certain level of fame and have a certain level of income, they do go ahead and enjoy a certain kind of lifestyle. And I guess LeBron has kids and, it does a whole number of other things that maybe don't lend themselves towards doing, all the casino visits and nightclub visits that these other sort of superstars, through past generations have enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, to sort of do what he's doing, any advantage and any time a great can stay around the game longer. I mean, again, look at Kobe Bryant, Jinno, as an example of someone who played 20 years in the pros, unheard of.
He looks at him right. He looks at him often.
We don't notice it, but I guarantee you, have you noticed how much Tim Duncan's weight has fluctuated and how much work and effort he puts into the offseason in conditioning and, how much the Spurs are using all these different techniques and advantages to keep their elite players on the court for longer periods of time, whether it's resting in game, whatever. I just think this whole way that we understand basketball and elite athletics is evolving. And I think our conversations around the game are going to change in the next couple of years too, because all this stuff's going to come to the forefront. And the more teams use it and the more it becomes a part of discussion, we're going to hear, guys missing 10-game road trips because their body needs to do certain things because the science suggests that if they rest in February, they're going to get better production in April, which means better playoffs. So,
but we're also seeing a lot of injuries. We're seeing a lot of injuries from these star players, guys that can't afford to make themselves kind of, the best they can be physically. And there's talk of shortening the season and all that. So I don't know, man. I don't know if we should read too much into all of this because we see a lot of injuries, even though they are.
We've seen also
great
a lot of
nutrition, sleeping,
I've
all
always
that
been an
nonsense.
advocate of human growth hormone. I feel that it's okay for pro athletes to be on it. It keeps them healthy. It keeps a grown man healthy. And if everyone is allowed to take it, it's actually it's not a competitive advantage. It's an even
you're
playing
saying,
field.
Chris, it's better to monitor it and use it as a recovery drug than it is to sort of pretend it doesn't exist.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And knowing that guys are doing it. I mean, look, the thing is, there's a number of policies and things in play, whatever. But then, like Steph slips in the second round of the first round or whatever of the playoffs, and buckles his knee, and then he's got a sprain, and he can't play a couple of weeks. I mean, freak injuries are freak injuries, and I don't think those things actually have anything to do with rest or anything. A sweat patch on the ground
right, but
has
there's
more
still
to do
talk.
with
There's
the
still talk.
cowboy.
Even today, there's still talk of shortening the NBA season from 82 games to whatever it's going to be. And I'm like, come on, guys, it's always been 82. Let's stick with 82.
It's been 82.
Look, history. Yeah, it becomes how defensive of history are you, or how defensive are you of the
but they're also
accomplishments that
complaining
have
about
come.
the back-to-backs and the quality of the game. It's part of quality of the game.
Well, the
too.
finals is a
You
good
get less
example,
quality
right? I mean, the finals that we're here discussing now have extended rest days because they want the players to show up and perform at an optimal level. What I find interesting, though, is rest day or not, halfway through this game, Golden State decided we can't win, so they stopped playing. It didn't matter if they had an extra rest day or not. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what rest came before it, because in the heat of the moment, decisions are made on top of the decisions going into the contest that kind of affected the outcome or the quality of the game that we as fans got to experience. So, Mo, I know you sort of can be dismissive of this stuff and sort of chalk it up as the science that goes on behind closed doors, but I think it's becoming a bigger part of the NBA because they want to maximize their money by keeping their players at an optimal level for longer. So, the freak injuries are always going to be there. But I think all this other stuff, and LeBron being the cultural titan that he is at the forefront of all of this, and more GMs and more players and more superstars, I think we're going to see implement this stuff. What we will not see, though, is just how much money is spent on it. And that's why I wanted to bring this LeBron thing up, because, it's just a crazy amount of money for me to think he's spending $1.5 million a year on his body.
Right.
Which,
but the thing is, Brett,
which is his money maker.
I've also never seen, I don't remember another time in NBA history that star players did not play because of rest. I mean, that was more evident in the last 2 or 3 years than it's been in a long time. I mean, how much more rest do they need if they're sleeping 8 hours, 12 hours a day, taking 2.5 hour naps before shoot around? I mean, it's just bizarre to me that they still need more rest, even though they're getting.
Well, maybe it's not rest. Maybe it's just, listen, if you don't have to be out there and risk an injury because you're too important for our run or for this season, then you don't go out there and play. Like, we're down by 35. It's more detrimental if we lose you to injury.
Sure, but what that does is it suggests that certain games are more important than others, or that certain opponents are more important than others.
That's
and
true.
if all games aren't created equal, that actually hurts the product. Like, it ends up hurting the regular season, and ends up hurting certain, like Philadelphia's coming to town, we can rest our starting five. Like that, as an NBA, you want to try to minimize that as much as possible.
Does it hurt the
even though that's
product,
the
though,
discretion of teams.
if you're going to have them rested for and 100% healthy for a marquee matchup 2 days later? Does it really hurt the product? I don't think it does.
Plus, and how's it going to hurt the product?
What I'm saying is, though, Chris, but on top of the rest, what we saw in these finals and what we see again and again is, even if they rest, and again, I'm not against the rest, I think the rest is fine. The problem is that inside of the specific game, even if they've rested for that game, 2 quarters in, they're getting blown out by 30. Well, then they're just going to take the rest of the game off.
Size. It's too small of a sample
no,
size.
It is. But all these blowouts, these playoffs, Chris, suggest something else is going on in the NBA, and I don't think it's got anything to do with the rest and all the recovery that's going on. Because it's more about the competitive spirit, and it's more about how much they want to do it inside those 48 minutes and how much the coaches want to protect their players.
Possibly.
All right, time's up. We got to get out of here. Let's take a break. When we come back, we have our fourth quarter. You listen to the Full Court Report. Back after this. Don't go away.
Rio 2016, August 5 to 21. Exclusive on TV5, your Philippine Olympic Network.
Welcome back to the Full Court Report. It is fourth quarter time, and I will take the ball here. Give myself 12 minutes on the clock, and let's talk more about these NBA finals. Now, of course, because it is the finals, there's a media all over these players, and you can get some really cool quotes. It seems like prior to every game, there's always something kind of juicy to talk about here. And here's one from, I think this was the other day, where Phil Jackson kind of opened his mouth, gave a little advice for LeBron that LeBron didn't take too well. He basically told him to put on a cape and do things like Michael Jordan did. Just go out there and be a man possessed. And this is what he told the New York Daily News. He just said, hey, put his cape on and say, I'm going to take over the series, doing things beyond my level or my normal capacity. LeBron, I think what he really wanted to say is, shut up, old man, and worry about the Knicks and not my game. But he kind of, tried to take the higher road and said, I don't actually know what he means. I'm not Muhammad Ali. I'm not Michael Jordan. I am who I am. It's not like I don't go out there, give my best, because I work on my craft all season long. I don't have to be possessed. I just have to be who I am. And I just kind of wanted to ask you guys, when Phil Jackson has been a little bit verbal about a lot of players outside of his organization, is this something LeBron should listen to or not take too seriously?
I like the spirit of the quote. I like the spirit of the quote, to be honest with you. Sure. I mean, we don't know what Phil Jackson truly meant, but the spirit of the quote is, go out there, give us a great product, take over the game. If you want to win this, we want to see the greatest we could see LeBron be. I love that. LeBron, he obviously didn't take it too well, but I love the quote. I hope he goes out there and plays possessed. And we saw this in Game 3. He played a little differently from Game 1 and 2. So maybe it was a little kick in the ass.
Yeah, two things here, Mo. And the first one is, first of all, Phil Jackson should know better, because Jordan ran with Pippen and Rodman and guys that if LeBron was playing with, it would be game over. So Jordan had the better supporting cast, especially in that, in the three-peat runs that he had. So it's not like LeBron isn't trying. I mean, we saw a monster finals and a monster playoffs from him. And secondly, I think this is Phil Jackson trying to awkwardly motivate him. There's a better way to do it, I think, or a more elegant way to sort of do it. But I think essentially what Jackson wants to do is say to him, we know you can be amazing, so go out there and show us how amazing you can actually be, rather than saying, you can't touch Michael Jordan. I mean, Jackson's been known to sort of tell guys that they're not as good as Mike, but again, to LeBron's credit, he's also saying, I'm not trying to be those guys. I'm trying to be the best version of me I can be. So
yeah, he didn't have to reference Mike. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah. I think that's what probably ticked him off the most. Last episode we were, giving Klay Thompson a little bit of a hard time because of his kind of boring persona and stuff. But Klay had some pretty good quotes. He said he definitely remembers Kyrie Irving being drafted in front of him, and he went out and even said, "Hey, they also drafted the wrong Thompson." Because of course Tristan Thompson went ahead of him, so
yeah, he did. Top 5 pick.
nice little spirit. I even heard that Klay Thompson, when he found out that he wasn't on the second team All NBA and the third team, he actually stormed out of the room. He was pretty pissed off that Lillard got in there and not him. So again, nice little energy from Klay. Real quick around the NBA before we wrap up tonight's episode, one of the big stories these past few days is that Steph Curry has decided to not compete in the Olympics in Rio. LaMarcus Aldridge as well. Now, I know, Brad, you and I have had some heated debates about this whole Team USA stuff.
Yep.
I've said, my argument is that I don't really think...
I've got a take on this. I think...
All right, hold on. I'll just throw out this thing. I'll just throw out the question. And then I don't think that Olympic medals, Olympic gold medals, Team USA performances, you and I even argued about the starting five of, and how much it means to the legacy of a player. I think Steph sitting out the Olympics and not getting a gold medal is not a big deal for, his legacy. Snore, bored to me.
Fine.
It's not a big story.
You're free to dismiss Team USA all you want, but in an ultra-competitive environment and with bragging rights and a lot of sort of, accolades on the line for these guys, Hall of Fame careers being determined, and the fact that the totem pole is absolutely created as a result of how these teams are built, to me says more about, who they are and what they mean. But in this particular instance, Steph might put it down to anything in the world that he wants. My gut tells me that he's not going to Rio for one reason, and that is Under Armour said to him, don't wear Nike anything.
Ooh.
A little Jordan action, huh?
Ooh.
Jordan with the 82 Olympics, huh? Covering up the rebound.
I've got a feeling it's got nothing to do with basketball, because Steph Curry going out there and hanging out with his family in Rio, Team USA is going to be living on a giant boat in the harbor of Rio de Janeiro. LeBron's going to be there. KD and all these guys are going to be there. Paul George having a lot of fun. Steph Curry would absolutely relish that opportunity to have a gold medal around his neck from the Rio Olympics. And instead, I've got the feeling that it's more about, hey, rest your body. You're a two-time NBA champion. Prolong your career. But above all of that, your lifetime or your big, massive Under Armour deal means more to you and says more about loyalties than anything. And I think this is where it's competitive. It's between the brands, not the players.
Wow. Well, I was talking to I had the chance to talk to Curry during the FIBA World Cup in Spain when you could see the Nike logos on the jersey and everything like that. But he did look like he really enjoyed being part of that team, the one that won the gold in Spain against Serbia. And I just think that he also knows that at this point in his career that he's done the Team USA thing already. He's won gold medals for the United States, for USA basketball. So I mean, Brad, that's a very bold statement about the Under Armour going up against Nike.
There's so much money on the
line. Don't you think it's more like, listen, if you're not going to play in the NBA, don't risk anything because you got a fat contract waiting for you from the Golden State Warriors.
Internationals care about the Olympics more than Americans, maybe, because as an American basketball fan, I could care less, really. It's cool to watch the Olympics, but I could care less about attaching to players' legacies and that type of stuff.
Yeah, the reason why I don't put gold medals, I don't put gold medals in the legacy of star player is because they're going to win. The American team is too.
We've seen Team USA lose already.
Please, they lost when they didn't care. Now they care a little bit. You're telling me LeBron, Durant, and those boys are going to lose?
LeBron hasn't said yes yet.
Okay, well,
come on.
Even without
what are we talking about?
Again, come on.
This is the point, right? This is the point. What helps make Michael Jordan everything that he is, and nostalgia aside, it's the fact that
no one ever says gold medal.
on any stage, he said, you know what? The greatest team ever assembled featured me.
Yes.
That's what Michael Jordan can say above everybody else.
And that scrimmage against Magic Johnson.
It's the conduct.
Thing brought up.
It's the putting your hands up and saying any platform, anytime, I'm going to kick your butt.
You know why? It's you. Here's my take. Here's my angle at this. It's because you guys are not in the U.S.
Yes.
And in your countries, it is a big deal.
Of course.
When you're not winning, 200 medals, it is a big deal to win something like that. But you know what? I think in this side of the world, and I'm going to speak as an American right now, that gold medal is already in the bag. It doesn't matter who the hell we send.
In the bag, baby.
That's true. That's why Brad and I are on the same page, sort of.
You could be wrong,
but
I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's not a big deal, I think, to people in the States. I mean, USA basketball, the Olympics, whatever, FIBA World Cup, nobody cares there in the United States. Let's be honest. But I mean, outside of the US, it is a big deal. And I think the globalization of the NBA, of basketball, I mean, we've seen it grow and grow throughout the years. And I think because of that, it's a big deal. I mean, we're talking about worldwide audience, not just in the United States, but we're talking about worldwide. And if you want basketball to continue to grow,
here's where it
needs to
get the competition.
You need to put out good product out
right,
there.
And Jinno's right in that it's got a global appeal rather than a domestic appeal. But here's where it truly matters, because I've spoken to guys from the Australian national team and other Olympians about this stuff. When you're inside that Olympic village and every other person stops to watch you walk through to get your lunch and you're treated like a rock star and you are the biggest deal in the Olympic village, and every athlete that you watch, whether they're tennis players or whether they're, other Olympians, track runners, whatever, when they go out of their way to find you and line up to meet you, that's where this stuff matters. It's the behind the closed door stuff.
It matters to guys like Michael Phelps. It matters to guys that don't get the guys that
there's a reason why Carmelo Anthony and these guys want to go back.
Listen, I know that these players, whether it be KD, whoever, they want a gold medal. Sure. My question was, when it comes to the legacy of the player, and we have talked about this in the past many times, that gold medals, Olympic gold medals, means nothing because that USA team would have won it without that player.
Team USA selection matters, and your choice to compete in the Olympics or not actually does play a contributing factor. I mean, we remember the Beijing Olympics and what Kobe and LeBron did because of the fact that they reinstalled.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea what they did in the Beijing
No
Olympics.
idea what you're talking about.
I don't know what they did.
The USA versus USA was the most watched game in basketball history.
Yeah, internationally. How many Americans really
right. And these guys go out onto a global stage and represent the US and represent their sport and do all these things that basically not only benefit them, but benefit the NBA
from top to bottom. Are you guys talking about the game Charles Barkley
and the hierarchy? Again, the dream team established that the best players
get
selected.
The only play I remember in Team USA history is Vince Carter dunking off that tall French guy. Like, that's the only thing I remember.
Barkley, too. Barkley with the elbow.
Okay,
those two plays.
I think if you ask me talking about the legacy, right? You're talking about the legacy of basketball players. Sure. There was only one Olympics that really mattered when you talk about the legacy, and that was the Dream Team, and that was it. That was it. But everything after that was just beneficial for.
If you asked me the '96 roster, I couldn't even tell you. I know Shaq was on it. That's about it. The '92 roster, I know the whole team. That's about it.
Yeah. So I mean, that dream team, the one and only dream team.
In terms of legacy, and in terms of where your bragging rights remain, and in terms of whether it is just social media chat, or for the point of conversation, or for the point of video games or fantasy sports, whatever. If Steph Curry and LeBron and KD and all these guys got together and said, we're going to create the greatest basketball team ever seen, or the best team that could actually give the dream team a run for their money, then it becomes super interesting. For the fact that you think it doesn't matter to these guys, I think everything matters to these guys, whether they admit it or not, whether you pay attention or not. These guys want to be remembered as the greatest the sport has ever seen, and one way to do that, one way to help their global appeal and the money involved, they actually go ahead. I'm saying that there's more at play here with Steph specifically than just, hey, I'm a little tired from 2 years of the NBA.
Buzz off, he would tell Under Armour to buzz off, like Jordan told Nike to buzz off. He had to hide the Reebok logo, but he still went and played. If Steph Curry really wanted as part of the legacy to be part of the greatest team of all time, he would tell Under Armour to shove it. You're still going to pay me.
And by the way, he can. He is Under Armour. Like, he owns.
Under Armour doesn't have the leverage. He has a leverage.
And Brad, Brad, they
This is
can
my
come out
point.
with like
When you put
USA
that team together-
PEs for Curry, USA PE Under Armour shoes, and the compression.
No,
pants.
I'm not saying there isn't a lot of money to be made, but what I'm saying is contractually, if he represents the US, he has to wear Nike, and Nike has the ability to market Steph Curry. I mean, that's just part of the deal.
But
and you
it's-
don't want to give your competitor those advantages. I'm saying that there is a number of factors here. That's one of them. My gut says that Under Armour and Steph Curry have sat down and said, we do not want to participate in this. And I guarantee you, if Nike wasn't involved, Steph's decision might sway the other way. I'm not saying it would be confirmed. I'm just saying he'd actually think about it longer than he did.
But, right now he's currently, like, Adidas is the outfitter of the NBA.
Right.
Anyway. But yeah.
But the logo's not everywhere, and they can't use him in marketing. So there's a bit of a difference.
Okay.
All right, let's get out of here. Running late tonight, but again, so much to talk about. Enjoyed this episode. Do check us out again on Sunday night U.S. time, Monday Australasia. In the meantime, let's go around the room real quick. Say our goodbyes. Jinno, start with you.
If you need a race car driver, feel free to tweet me or use our Instagram.
You got 6 months.
If you need a getaway driver, don't do that, please. If Rudy Duterte, if you're listening, I am not a getaway driver, but it's at Jinno, JINNORUFINO on Twitter and on Instagram.
All right, Chris, what's up?
It's at not Bill Walton, and I need to take care of my body and get a nice 3-4 hours of sleep right now. But before we close up here, I just want to say, happy birthday, Brad.
Isn't that
That's
sweet?
right. We
Very
missed it. I
kind.
missed it on the last episode. It was his birthday on the last episode, we think.
I was
So-
very sly about that.
Yeah.
It was intentional, but yeah, what can I say?
All right.
Happy birthday, Brad.
Birthday boy, what do you got?
You can follow me on Twitter at @BackpackBaller, and I'm gonna have to make a citizen's arrest on all three of you because the national team definitely matters more than you give it credit for.
Hey, I'm all for the national team. We're
Yeah, I know you two are. I know.
dying to make the Olympics here in the Philippines.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. It's
That's the
your
point.
love, your desire for that kind of screws up with your thought process about how much I think the gold medal
Right.
means
It's
to
big
these
for
guys,
us. It's
but-
big for us.
All right.
Here's
I know
something
it's big
for you,
I'm
Mo.
there
Here's
with
something
you.
for you.
Yeah,
If
what do
I
you
get an
got? Go.
opportunity to ask Steph if the brand ever influenced his decision on going to the Olympics, I will ask that question.
Okay.
Nice.
And he's going to go this. He's going to do the Marshawn Lynch. He's going to go. He's not going to say anything. He's just going to go with the next reporter. You can follow me on Twitter
He's
at
gonna give you that
DJ
weird
Twister.
look. Yep.
All right, on Instagram as well. You can follow our show at Full Court Report. We'll see you guys on Sunday night. We talk more NBA Finals. Thanks, staff, for doing such a great job. And yeah, we'll see you guys then. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.